Dear respected Siom, dear respected brother and sister, welcome to our Dutch retreat. I would like to invite Phap An to speak directly in Dutch to welcome our friends.
Test, oké. Dus lieve gerespecteerde Siom, dus lieve edele gemeenschap. Heel fijn dat jullie er vanavond allemaal zijn. En deze welkomstwoorden zullen we zowel in het Engels als ook in het Nederlands aan u richten.
We are very happy that you are here with us this time, even though that the announcement is very late.
Ja, en we zijn erg blij dat jullie er allemaal zijn. En ook al hebben we het pas heel erg laat aangekondigd.
And it's all the way wonderful to have a retreat together.
En we genieten altijd heel erg van een retraite die we samen met elkaar kunnen beleven.
We had a retreat for the German friends last week, and it was very wonderful time together.
Vorige week hebben we een Duitsstalige retraite gehad en die retraite, ja, daar hebben we erg van genoten.
Usually, to begin our retreat, we will offer the chant evoking the name of the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva of great compassion.
Dus normaal gesproken beginnen we een retraite met het aanroepen van de Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, de Bodhisattva van het grote mededogen.
But due to the outbreak, in order to be safe for everyone, the monastic brother and sister will not offer the chant.
Maar vanwege deze corona-epidemie hebben we ervoor gekozen om deze retraite zonder het zingen te gaan beginnen voor de veiligheid en voor het welzijn van iedereen.
I will offer the evening chant before the sitting meditation.
Dus we zullen zo meteen luisteren naar de avondchant voor de zitmeditatie.
And I will invite this great gong here.
En daarvoor is een grote gong.
This is a very beautiful instrument, beautiful sound.
En deze gong heeft een prachtige klank.
And it has been offered to us by a man, one of our Dharma teacher, whose name is Carl Smith.
En deze gong werd aangeboden door een van onze Dharmacharya's in Duitsland. En zijn naam is Carl Schmidt.
And he is one of the person who helped to bring Thai teaching to Germany.
En hij is een van de voornaamste personen die de leer van Thai in Duitsland heeft overgedragen.
He helped to organize a very big event for Thai with the Evangelic Church.
En ook met de evangelische kerk heeft hij grote activiteiten, grote evenementen voor Thai georganiseerd.
I remember one time we have about 7,000 or 8,000 people for Thai Dhamma talk in Frankfurt, and we had a walking meditation in the Frankfurt city.
En eens was er een groot evenement met 7.000 of 8.000 mensen in Frankfurt. En daar deden we loopmeditatie in het centrum.
So it's very meaningful to invite this great gong.
Dus het heeft een grote betekenis om deze gong uit te nodigen.
So that the sound of the Dharma will vibrate far and wide.
Zodat de klank van de Dharma ver kan weerklinken.
Please enjoy your sitting position in a stable and calm position.
Dus geniet alsjeblieft van je zithouding in een comfortabele positie.
Enjoying the sound. It can be loud and resonate.
En we kunnen genieten van de klank die ook vrij luid kan zijn en kan resoneren.
And the meaning of the Vietnamese chant is that sitting here underneath the Bodhi tree, stably and solid.
En de betekenis van de Vietnamese avondchant is stabiel en rechtop zit ik aan de voet van de Bodhiboom.
My three action of speech, mind and body are still and going beyond the notion of right and wrong.
En mijn handelingen van lichaam, spraak en geest zijn stil en gaan voorbij alle ideeën van juist of onjuist.
And I bring my body, my mind into full mindfulness.
En ik breng mijn geest in volle aandacht.
And with the meditation, I see clearly my true nature, and I'm able to go beyond the shore of suffering.
En met de meditatie zie ik mijn ware natuur en kan ik de oever van bevrijding bereiken.
And then Noble Sangha, please diligently bring your mind into meditation.
Een edele gemeenschap, breng je geest volkomen terug in het hier en nu.
And Namo Sakyamunaye Buddhaya.
En Namo Shakyamunaye Buddhaya.
And usually we repeat this evoking the name of the Buddha, but for this time we just have it in our mind, silence.
En meestal is het als een soort van vraag en respons met Namo Shakyamunaye Buddhaya. Maar in deze situatie wordt het gewoon in de chant gewoon aangeroepen zonder een antwoord van de gemeenschap.
And we will enjoy a few minutes of sitting meditation in silence.
En we zullen genieten van de rust en stilte gedurende een aantal minuten.
And then we will have a Dharma talk.
En dan zullen we luisteren naar de eerste Dharma-lezing.
And I will speak in English, and Hans will help to translate into Dutch simultaneously.
En de Dharma-lezing zal in het Engels zijn. En Hans zal helpen met het vertalen in het Nederlands. Dus daarvoor kunt u de hoofdtelefoons gebruiken.
It would be best if Thầy Phap Sa give the orientation, but he's been working a lot to organize the retreat. So I take on the responsibility so that he can be free up a little bit.
Dus het is altijd een beetje ingewikkeld om over jezelf te praten. Maar ik zal het meteen letterlijk vertalen. Dus normaal gesproken is het beter dat Thầy Phap Sa de lezing geeft. Maar hij was vrij druk. Dus vandaar dat Thầy Phap An zo vrijgevig is in het aanbieden van deze eerste Dharma-lezing.
And tomorrow you will listen the Dharma talk directly in Dutch by Thầy Phap Sa.
En morgen kunnen we luisteren naar een lezing direct in het Nederlands.
Thank you so much. Would you like to say anything else, Thầy Phap Sa, to the Sangha?
Dankjewel. Nou ja, goed, ik vind het heel erg leuk dat u er bent. En ik kijk erg uit naar deze retraite. Fijn dat u er bent. En ik zie zoveel bekende gezichten. Het is altijd fijn om bekende gezichten te zien. En het is ook heel fijn om weer heel veel nieuwe mensen te zien. En dus hebben we een kans om met elkaar te oefenen deze week. Ik vind het natuurlijk heel erg leuk ook dat er ook weer een Nederlandstalige retraite is. Hebben we ook niet elke week. Wel elk jaar, gelukkig. En dus fijn dat u er bent. En kijk er naar uit. Fijne week.
Thầy Phap Sa is very talented in language. He has so many language. He can speak in so many languages, even Vietnamese. And now he's learning Chinese and Bali and Sanskrit. Wonderful.
Ja.
please.
Ja, hij kan heel goed de talen. Dus onder andere ook Vietnamees. En hij leert Chinees, Pali, maar niet echt Sanskriet.
Thank you very much, Phap An.
Thank you, Thai.
Vâng thân ngồi dưới cội Bồ Đề. Ba nghiệp lang rồi hên thì phi thô nhiễm thân tâm vào chánh niệm rõ soi duyên mục thoáng bờ mềm ngưỡng mong đại chúng tinh tiến nhiếp tâm thiện tập. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddhaya. Namo Sakyamuni Buddhaya. Namo Sakyamuni Buddhaya. So dear respected Siom, dear respected brother and sister, I hope that you enjoy the meditation. May I ask who are here for the first time to our institute or, okay, so we have a few friends. Yes. Welcome to our institute. We will listen now to three sound the bell before we begin the Dharma talk. Dear respected Siom, dear respected brother and sister, now we are in the August of 2020, and looking back, it has been more or less 9 months that the coronavirus appeared first in China. And during that 9 months, the world had gone through a lot of disturbance. In Vietnam, our brother and sister told me that family consultation become is more. People go to family consultation more because they have to stay at home to interact more with their family member, their beloved one. And the rate of divorce is going up. And there are many friends who have difficulty with their job, their finance, and the economy of the world, the political situation of the world is undergoing a big change. And sometimes in the midst of all of these difficulty, we are carried away by the event in our family, in our community, in our society, our nation, and the situation of the world. And it's so difficult for us to see that that we can be happy. Is happiness possible at all when we are facing difficulty in our life? And according to the wisdom of the Buddha, it's possible to be happy. It's possible to be happy, even though we might go through a lot of difficulty. Happiness is a quality of the mind. There are obviously conditions that support our happiness. When we are hungry, it will be difficult for us to concentrate our mind and to be happy fully. But it's possible to have some happiness during the time we are hungry, during the time that we are lacking some material condition or some material condition of our life, we can still be happy. And the topic of our retreat is waking up to happiness. Our teacher Thầy, he said that there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. That means happiness is something that we cultivate in our life. Wake up to happiness is to remind ourselves that happiness is possible and we can cultivate it. In Buddhism, our mind work is a stream of consciousness. So there's a stream of our consciousness. More or less in every moment of our life, practically, empirically, in every moment of our life, our mind go to different mental state. And in Buddhism, in each of the movement of our mind, there are 5 mental states that is activate all the time in every moment of our life. And this 5 mental state is called universal mental factor. That means the moment we have some form of consciousness, some form of conscious, we are aware of things, we are conscious of things, then there are 5 mental quality or 5 mental factor or 5 mental activity that is under operation. The first mental activity is called contact. Contact is the mental activity that begin to activate the moment our senses is in contact with the object of the senses. For example, our eyes, when it touch and visible form, then there is eye consciousness. And the eyes, the object of the eyes, and the eye consciousness come together in order for us to begin the process of being conscious. And that is called contact. Contact. And it happens all the time. The moment we have a consciousness, we begin to have a conscious activity, then there's contact. And there's attention. The second mental activity is attention. Attention act is a yoke that bring things together. Like the ox has a yoke on its neck, and the yoke connect to the chariot, and the ox is able to pull the chariot. So attention is the mental activity that direct all of the other activity together. It brings all of the mental activity together into that particular to that particular object of our consciousness. For example, right now, unless we have some kind of attention, you cannot listen to me. If you are tired from your trip of traveling here, then you lose your attention and you begin to fall asleep. Then your mental activity or mental factor called attention is not activated, so you fall asleep. So attention is the mental activity that bring in all of the other activity of the mind, so that we begin to have a conscious, a consciousness, a conscious activity, mental conscious activity, and that's attention. And then once we have contact and attention, there's come feeling or sensation. How do we experience an sensation? How do we experience that event? And this sensation can be pleasant, can be unpleasant, and neutral. When we have a pleasant sensation, we call it happiness. And when we have unpleasant sensation, we call it unhappiness. And when we have a neutral sensation, then it's egal. It's equal, it doesn't matter. You are neutral, you don't feel like happy or unhappy. That is a sensation. So happiness is the result of our feeling, how we feel about the object of our experience, the tone of our experience. People call it the hedonic tone of our experience, whether we feel pleasant or unpleasant. That is one aspect of being happy. Being happy means to feel pleasant. To feel pleasant, to have a pleasant sensation in our experience. And then the next mental activity is our perception. When we have an experience, we have a perception about our experience. we perceive, what we have an image, we have a notion, we have an idea of what we experience. We begin to create a mental image of that experience in our mind, perception. And the next mental activity is called karmic volition. Karmic volition. That means it is our pattern of behavior, our pattern of perceiving things, of perceiving experiencing an event. And this is a product of our old experience. It is a product of our old experience. That means we are trained to look at things that way. When you listen to someone, let's say our friends who first come to the institute, and this is your first time to listen to me, perhaps my English is not that really good, and it's not used to your ear, and you have not created a pattern of listening to me. So, with respect to me, there's not yet this karmic volition. It's difficult to understand what I'm trying to say. The way I express myself, the way I talk, the way I pronounce things, pronounce the word. It takes time for us to begin to create a shape of our experience, to form a pattern. When we first listening to a Dharma talk, or we first listening to the teaching, the idea is not fully connected. It had not been created into a web. We have one little information here, one little information there, and so on, and it is disconnected. But after we listening to the teaching, the talk for a long, long time, all of these separated information, all of these pieces of information begin connect together into a web. And we begin to understand the teaching and the Dharma in a particular way. And that particular way is an interaction between what we hear, the information, and it is our past experience. The same teaching will be understood differently by different people, depending on their experience with regard to the teaching. If there is a journalist standing at the door after you leave the hall today, and the journalist interview, what did Thầy Phap An talk about today, for example? And then I'm very sure 60 of us will report something different. Depend on whether you are sleeping or you are not. And you report whether whatever you hear is in the field of your attention, and together with your karmic volition, you create an image of the talk. You create a content of the talk. Perhaps you were awake at the beginning of the talk, so the journalist asked, and you said, well, he talked about something universal mental activity. But then later on in the talk, I will begin to talk about something else. And some of the other friends will say, well, he's talking mainly about that. they forget about this universal mental activity because it had been an hour. So that is the karmic volition. So every moment of our conscious experience, there are these 5 mental activity that operate all the time. We call it universal mental factor or universal mental activity. We listen to one sound of the bell before we continue on. These 5 universal mental factors help us to experience things, help us to have a conscious experience with respect to our daily activity. And it is 5 elements just come into our consciousness all the time, and there's no direction. The only direction it has is our karmic volition. The karmic volition help to shape our contact, help to shape our attention, help to shape our feeling, and help to shape our perception. This is our karmic volition. Our karmic volition shapes how we experience things. That is our karmic. That is our old pattern of behavior. So we are happy or we are not happy depending on this karmic volition. What we used to do in our life. There are people who have good karmic volition, they always feel happy. Regardless of what they experience, they feel happy. Because they have a good karmic volition. They have a pattern of behavior that they enjoy being happy all the time. There is a sister in our community, she is the abbess of New Hamlet. She's very joyful. She's always fresh. Perhaps some of you know her. Sister Định Nghiêm. She is now the attendant of Thai in Vietnam. She has been the main attendant of Thai for the last 27 years since she became a nun in 1993. And Thai enjoy her presence very much because she's always fresh. She will never think of anything negative. She always positive. And she always make things light. Someone come to her, have some complaint. She listen deeply, and somehow she transform it. She take it very easy, very light. And after talking to her, suddenly we feel light too. She has this karmic volition of being able to transform heavy things into very light, easy way of things. And Thai used to tell us that she is one of the best practitioners because she's always joyful, always happy, even though sometimes she has to face difficulty. But that is somehow, that's her nature. She has a very good karmic volition. And in our community here in EIAB, Thầy Phap Xã is the same version. He has a very good karmic volition. He's very easygoing, and anyone come to him with a problem, somehow he managed, and he transformed it into a very light, easy problem. Our EIB community benefits a lot from the presence of Thầy Phap Xã, from his karmic volition, very soft, gentle brother. And many times he had the idea to move to another center, like go back to Plum Village or other center. We said, please, Thầy Phap Xã, the Dutch people need you. What do you think? Yes? Yes. The Dutch people need you, Thầy Phap Xã. Please do not go to anywhere. Somehow Thầy Phap Xã had this heritage from his parents, from his ancestor, that he has this very good karmic volition. And our karmic volition shape how we contact with the world, help to shape our attention, help to shape our feeling, help to shape our perception. It's very important. And one aspect of our practice is we learn to practice so that we can transform this karmic volition from a negative pattern of behavior into a positive pattern of behavior. We need to cultivate that all the time. And how can we transform this karmic volition from a unwholesome karmic volition into a wholesome karmic volition? What is the way to do? The way is we have to learn to train ourselves to be happy. There's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. We have to train. We have to learn to be happy in every moment of our life. The moment we feel that we have a negative feeling, being unhappy, we learn to recognize it, and we learn to transform right away this negative feeling, the unhappiness, and try to look and identify a condition of happiness around us and enjoying that. In order to do that, we need to be able to observe our conscious, our stream of consciousness, our stream of experience every moment. We need to cultivate that capacity. So let's say when we experience things, then there is a subject of experience. And there is an object of experience. That is when we have some form of experience. We are the subject who experience that, and there's an object of our experience. And we need to train ourselves in such a way that we can recognize the subject of experience and the object of experience every moment. Otherwise, we cannot transform our karmic volition. If we are fortunate we have a good heritage in which we have a lot of good karmic volition, in which we have a lot of tendency to be happy, then that's great. But for someone who have difficulty in our life, happiness is not our normal pattern of behavior. It's not our habit, our habitual way of being happy. Then we need to train and we need to reverse that habitual energy. I am such a person in the past because I was born in the war, in Vietnam during the war. It was a very expensive, intensive war in Vietnam. Every night when I was young, since the time I was born, every night when I sleep, I heard cannon shooting in the dark, far away, shooting the sound of the gun. And there are people who become crazy, and they scream in the night. There was a lady next to our house. Every night she was screaming, and as a little boy, I lie there and listen to her screaming, quite fearful, scary, and then our house is next to an airport, a military base, and every night the fighter jet take off in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and the sound was so loud. And my brother, who sleep next to me, unconsciously, he will sit up on the bed, and he will scream along with the sound of the jet. And I'm only 1 year older than him. I wake up when the sound was very loud, and I will sit up, and I use my hand. I put him down very gently so that he can return to sleep. And he go back to sleep without being aware that he just sit up and scream along with the sound of the airplane. And many, many other things. I had to evacuate out of our house many times because of the war. And we are not sure when we come back we still have the house, because sometimes the house next to our house was burned down. Everything become like ash when we return. So with this kind of environment, when I grew up, I cannot be so happy. I developed this pattern of being depressed, the pattern of being sad, and being down most of the time. And it took me a long time, very long time, with the practice in order to transform my sadness into happiness. And I have to do that with the practice of mindfulness. That is the practice of being aware of the subject of experience and the subject of experience, and hold it in the mind, the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness in the Bali is called sati, and in Sanskrit is smrti. That is a translation, but language have different layer of meaning, and sati also have different layer of meaning in Bali. And mindfulness also have different layer of meaning in English. There's not just an equivalent. During this retreat, slowly, you will discover what mindfulness is and the practice of mindfulness. So sati, one of the meaning of sati is to be able to remember. It has to do with memory. Sati is memory. And you can read it about this in a sutra in Samyutta Nikaya, number 48.9. 48.9. Samyutta Nikaya, that is the connected discourse of the Buddha. Connected discourse of the Buddha. And in this sutra, the Buddha defined sati as a form of memory, remember. Remember, it is our memory, we remember things. And then in the next discourse, the discourse 48.10, the Buddha add on to this notion of sati being a memory. That is the old way of understand this word in the Indian culture. Sati has to do with memory. And then the Buddha take on this word and he transform it. He add on to the meaning of sati. And sati now has to do with the capacity to hold your awareness, your consciousness on a particular object for duration of time. So sati is a practice. Sati is a practice that is a practice that leads to a kind of energy of awareness. For example, let's say when you walk and you are fully aware of your walk. You are fully aware of your walking. You feel your step touching the ground. You are aware of your in-breath and your out-breath. You feel your body and you relax your body, for example. That practice is called walking meditation. Tomorrow we will have a chance to practice walking meditation after the Dharma talk. So we walk. We feel our step. Feel the contact between the feet and the ground. So we establish sati with this awareness. We establish the mindfulness about our walking. So sati, the first meaning is the memory, but the second meaning is something that we establish with our practice. And there is a sutra called the 4 establishment of mindfulness. That means the 4 ways to develop sati, develop mindfulness. Mindfulness is the capacity to hold an object in our mind for a certain duration of time. That's called mindfulness. For example, we breathe in and we are fully aware about breathing in from the beginning to the end about in-breath, for example. Then we are mindful about in-breath. We are able to hold the object of our experience, which is our breathing, in our mind for a duration of time. We can practice it now with the sound of the bell. Listening to the sound of the bell, return to your breathing and learn to be with your breathing from the beginning to the end. And that's called mindfulness of the in-breath. So let's practice. So the second meaning of the word sati or mindfulness is the capacity to hold our awareness for a particular of time, for a duration of time. Awareness of the subject of experience and the object of experience for a duration of time. Now you see that that's how we transform our karmic volition. Our karmic volition is automatic. It becomes an unconscious part of our behavior. For example, when our partner says something, and you live with him or with her long enough, and the moment he or she just say that, then he or she push your button, boost your karmic volition, and right away you will respond in such a particular way. Very interesting. You have formed a karmic volition with your partner. And even sometimes she didn't say anything. She just looked at you and you already feel angry. He or she just look at you and you want to get out of the house. You don't want to be in the house anymore. Because the karmic volition had become automatic. And if you follow your karmic volition, what happened? You open the door and you get out. You don't want to be with her anymore. And then you become a victim of your karmic volition. He become a victim of your karmic volition. And both of you become a victim of the karmic volition. But the practice of mindfulness, because it helps to hold experience in the duration of time and not to react, you have a chance. Right? For example, when your partner look at you that way and you practice mindfulness, then you feel this irritation coming up within you. That is the object of your experience. I'm fully aware of my irritation, and I stay with that irritation. And then you embrace the subject of experience. That is you who feel irritated. And you send love to the subject of experience. The irritation coming up, you come back to your in-breath and your out-breath. Feeling irritation, I breathe in. Feeling irritation, I breathe out. Feeling a lot of love for myself, I breathe in. Feeling a lot of love for myself, I breathe out. So instead of being a victim of your irritation, you have a chance to stop. So mindfulness is a training that helps you to stay with an experience. And the moment that you can stay with an experience, you have a chance to transform that experience. Mm-hmm. So in the practice, we say that mindfulness gives rise to joy and happiness. niệm sinh hỷ lạc. And then mental collection. Mental collection. Or mental collectedness. Mental collectedness. Mental collectedness. Give rise to joy and happiness. And then the next one is insight or understanding. Or understanding. Understanding. Give rise to joy and happiness. In this retreat, wake up to happiness. In order to cultivate our happiness, we must be able to cultivate these three sources of energy. Mindfulness, give rise to joy and happiness. Mental collectedness, give rise to joy and happiness. And insight or understanding, give rise to joy and happiness. We need to cultivate these three sources of energy. And it begins with our capacity to stay with an experience for a duration of time. And that's called the establishment of mindfulness. And you can choose an object of the experience, or you can choose the subject of experience for your development of mindfulness. For example, let's say you choose the object of your experience is your arm. For example, your arm is an object of your experience. And you can train the practice of mindfulness by fully aware of the movement of your hand regardless of where it goes throughout the day. What is so interesting about your hand or your arm movement? You don't want to stay with it. But the moment you develop your mindfulness and you learn to stay with the movement of your arms or your hands, and you continue to stay there, and you know what happened? Happiness comes. Very simple. Happiness comes because your mind does not follow your karmic volition anymore. The karmic volition bring you here, bring you there, and you become a ball that is kicked around by your karmic volition. You don't have any control. You don't have any control with respect to your karmic volition. You become a victim of your own pattern of behavior. But when you are mindful of your arm movement throughout the day, when you move your hand up, you know that you are moving your hand up. When you move your hand to the side, you know that you are moving your hand to the side. When you raise the hand up, you know that you raise the hand up. Tomorrow we will practice some kind of moving meditation, and we practice some form of Qigong and Tai Chi. And we are fully aware of our body movement. It is a training for mindfulness. And if you can stay with your arm throughout the day, fully aware of the movement of your arm, it's called mindfulness of the movement of the arm in the movement of the arm. And let's say when you open the door, and you are fully of the activity of opening your door. And you turn around and you close it. Don't let the door slam. Don't let it automatically slamming back. But holding the door and allow it to close gently. And I call it the practice of mindfulness of opening and closing the door. Mindfulness of opening and closing the door, in opening and closing the door. What does it mean by in closing and opening the door? That means from the beginning to the end of the activity. You don't let go. It's called mindfulness of an activity in an activity. That is the particular language of Buddhism. It is an activity. Activity. It's called mindfulness of an activity in that activity. That means you allow this activity to happen, and you follow this activity from the beginning to the end. Mindfulness of the body in the body. That means you follow your body from the beginning to all the way to the end. Mindfulness of the walking in the walking. That means you follow along with it. You don't let go. You stick to it. When your mind begins to travel somewhere, gently bring your mind back and stay with your step. And that's called mindfulness of walking in walking. That is the particular language of Buddhism. Mindfulness of moving the arms in moving the arm. That means you stay with this moving from the beginning to the end. So you train your mind to hold, to be able to hold, to stay, to be present with an object of experience for a duration of time. And this is the secret of the practice. This is the secret for developing happiness. The moment your karmic volition is calmed down, you become a new person. Most of the time, we don't live our life. Mainly, we just repeat our life. We only repeat the pattern of our behavior. We never live our life. To live our life means to be fully experienced, and each of the experience is new, is completely new. But most of the time, we follow our pattern of behavior. So we just repeat what we have experienced. We never live our life. To live our life means to wake up. And thanks to the fact that we wake up, happiness comes. Because we are able to go out of the prison of our whole behavior, our pattern of behavior. So mindfulness liberates us. Mindfulness liberates us from the prison of our whole behavior, of our whole pattern of being, and we wake up into something new. And that's why it's called wake up to happiness. Because the moment we can wake up, we can go out of this prison of the old pattern of behavior, old way of talking, old way of thinking, whole way of acting. The moment we can wake up, then happiness comes. And we can wake up because the energy of mindfulness is there. Mindfulness is there, help us to be liberated from the old pattern of behavior. So for this weekend, learn to choose an object of your experience. and learn to stay with that object of experience for some moment. For example, let's say you walk from here to the dining hall. On the first day, you divide into 5 parts. Let's say you walk from this door, this opening door, to the other door. Only that distance. And let's say you walk. The moment you go to that open door, you begin to practice walking meditation. You are fully of your step. But then you begin to think of your house in Holland. Then you come back. You come back to the opening door, and you begin to walk again. And you try to walk from that open door to that door. And if you fail again, then you come back. And you get the reward. After you pass that, you go to your lunch or dinner. But if you fail, you stay here. So you choose a distance. That is more distant, and you train yourself. The practice of mindfulness. Be fully aware of your step. And you will see it is the pattern of our mind. It is activity of our mind that prevent us from being happy. The moment that we can be with our mind, practice mindfulness, we have a chance to be happy. We have a chance to be joyful. Yeah. Tomorrow we will continue on, and throughout the whole week we continue to develop the practice of being happy. And so for this retreat, it is a very special retreat. We are in the middle of the outbreak, and there are a lot of suffering in the world. This afternoon I looked it up, and there are more than 700,000 people in the world that have died from the coronavirus, and the number will continue to increase from now until the end of the years. And America is the one, U.S. and the whole American continent was hit very hard. Brazil and America. And people said that from now until the end of the years, if we are not careful, the number will continue to increase. That could end up with more than 1 million people who pass away because of this virus for 1 year or so. Yeah. So it is a great opportunity that we can be here and practice together and helping each other to practice. It's very great news. And there could be a possibility for transmission of the virus, and we try our best to protect all of us, to take some measure to protect ourselves and to protect other friends, so that we do not cause more damage for ourselves and for the other. For us here in EIAB, it took a lot of debate and discussion before we can open up. In March, we had a meeting, and then April and May and June, and it took a long time for all the brothers and the sisters in the community to come to the agreement that we open up in the middle of July. And we know that wearing the mask and following all of the protection can be difficult. It can give rise to the sense of being uncomfortable. But please help to support so that we can protect each other. we have discussed in our community that to help each other, our brother and sister will practice that the moment they go out their room, they go out their monk or nun resident, they would put on the mask. So in this building and in the other building, this building is called the Asoka building. The other building is called the Great Compassion Monastery building. Is the Asoka Institute building. And in both of our building, whenever we move around, please put on our mask. If we sit down for the Dharma talk or for sitting meditation, then we don't need to put on the mask so that it can be pleasant. But the moment we stand up and we move around in the building, please put on the mask. As well as in the dining hall. When we sit down to have our meal, then we can take off the mask. But the moment we stand up and we move around our dining hall, then please put on the mask. Wearing the mask is an act of compassion, is an act of giving our protection to the other. Wearing the mask can be very unpleasant. And in the past, when medicine was still in its primitive stage, many doctors they don't wear the mask, and they don't take the hygiene protection, like washing the hand or put on a new gown, new clothes for operation. So in the middle of the 19th century, there was this doctor. His name is Ignaz Semmelweis. Ignaz Semmelweis. He was born in 1818 and he passed away on 1865, 47 years old. He noticed that the doctor they don't take the hygienic care when they are in contact with the patient. They go into the laboratoire and then they dissect a corpse, or they are on the street and they right away they treat their patient with operation and so on. And he observed that many mothers who give birth to children, either the child passes away due to complication or the mother has difficulty. And he suggests that the real problem is the doctor do not take care of the hygiene. And also when they operate on the patient. So he tried to promote the idea that we need to take care of the hygiene and also put on the mask and to be very careful before we treat the patient. But nobody listened to him, and he had the nervous breakdown, and he went to the mental hospital, and he passed away very early when he was 47 years old. And people do not take on the practice until 1901. Then people begin to change the clothes, the gown, before they go to operating room. And they don't put on the cap for the head until 1930. And they don't put on their glove for operation until 1937. And finally, in 1937, they decide to put, they agreed to put on the mask during the operation. So it took about 72 years. 72 years when he called out that we need to put on the mask, we need to put on the clean clothes, we need to wash our hands. 72 years, many people had died because of that. So when we put on the mask, really we are protecting the other. We try to reduce as much as possible the possibility of transmission the virus to the other. And after 1937, when doctor begin to put on the mask, then the mortality rate during the operation reduced significantly. Just by the hygiene practice, it helped to protect the patient. So please support us by wearing the mask in these two buildings. We know that it's uncomfortable, yeah, but we can offer love and protection to the other. And when we are outside and we practice walking meditation, and if we walk, if we are more than a meter from each other, then we don't need to wear the mask. But when we walk, that we are close to the other person, less than a meter, then we need to put on the mask to protect the other person. And when we have a conversation with another friend, and if we stand in the outside of the building, when we talk to another friend, and we are standing less than 1 meter or 1.5 meters, then please put on the mask. But if we stand far enough, then we don't have to wear the mask. But it is something that we all practice. We support each other, we help each other, we remind each other, and it is a love that we offer to the other person, because we don't know whether we carry the virus or not. But the moment if we by chance we carry the virus, we can help to reduce that transmission to the other friends. And for me, the practice of wearing the mask and to keep the distance is an act of compassion. And it is a practice of mindfulness. It is the practice of mindfulness. It is a practice of love and understanding. And I try to convince the monastic brother and sister that we shouldn't be afraid of the situation. We should have enough courage to step out and to help, to lead the retreat, to offer our love, our compassion, offer the teaching of the Buddha to anyone who needs the teaching. And we shouldn't be afraid, but we need to take proper care. We need to take a good measure. And don't be afraid when there are friends coming from other place to our institute. We just need to be very careful. That's all we have to do. Because we don't know when this outbreak will end. It could be another half of the years. It could be one more years. We cannot close the institute for more than. If we cannot continue to close the institute until next year or so, we have to open up. We have to do whatever we can with the practice of mindfulness, so that we can support ourselves and we can support other people. During the time of war in Vietnam, the war was very intensive, and Thầy stepped out and called for peace. The communist government do not like that. The non-communist government do not like that. and there was an attempt to kill, to assassinate Tay. Mm. Mm. So there are people who throw grenade into Thay's room, and luckily the grenade caught the curtain and it fall out of the room and it exploded. Thanks to the curtain, Thay's life was saved. And Sister Chang Khom was running underneath the bullet, trying to save children during the war in Vietnam. The chance that we will die for sure during the war. But Thầy and Sister Chang Khom and other young men and women during the war in Vietnam, they stepped out without any mask, without any bulletproof jacket on. And they continue to the work of calling for peace. So there's no reason for us to close down our institute and to and do not offer our service to our friends. So it is something that we need to contemplate on, and regardless of whatever situation we are in, the moment we practice mindfulness, we have some hope and we have a chance. Yeah. So please help us, and we hope that we will continue to open the institute until the outbreak is over, and we don't have to close it because of any incident of outbreak here in institute. Thank you so much for your deep listening and your love. Yes. Okay. Yes. So we will practice. After we end this activity, there is a practice of noble silence. Yes. So we will. Noble silence is a chance for us to practice deep mindfulness. We learn to come back to ourselves and to be in touch with ourselves deeply. And we don't need to talk to our roommate. We don't need to talk to our partner, our friends. We can spend all of the time to return to ourselves, to feel ourselves deeply, and to practice whatever mindfulness practice that we prefer to do. You might want to go back to your room and take time to brush your teeth. Enjoy brushing your teeth. Enjoy feeling your hand, feeling the brush, feeling the toothpaste, and relax your whole body while you are brushing your teeth. So we practice the noble silence after we finish this activity until the end of the breakfast tomorrow morning. Yes. And for the meal, we will practice inside the dining hall. When we, like I said, when we stand up, we need to put on the mask, and we practice noble silence in the dining hall. That means we don't talk inside the dining hall at all for all of the meal. All of the meal. In the past, when you are here, you know that after the formal eating period for about 20 minutes, then we can talk. But now, due to the coronavirus outbreak, inside the dining hall, we will not talk at all, so that we can protect each other. We only eat, and then we will talk. When we finish our eating, we leave the dining hall, then we talk. Either inside the building or outside the building, it's okay. But we don't talk inside the dining area at all. And yeah. And tomorrow morning, please wake up anytime you like. But around 6:20, please be here for the sitting meditation. The sitting meditation will begin at 6:30. So arrange your time so that around 6:20 you already settle down and enjoy the meditation, and the brother and sister will come and we will have the sitting meditation. And after the sitting meditation, depending on the weather, if the weather is good, we will practice the Qigong outside. If it's not, then we will find a way how to do it, so that we find some practice that we can do inside. Okay. And let's see. For tomorrow, lunch is a special lunch. That means at the lunchtime, everyone please come to the dining hall, and we will listen to the 5 contemplation. We can serve our food, and we sit down and we can eat right away, and there will be 3 sound the bell for us to listen to the 5 contemplation. And then we eat in silence for 20 minutes. And in this period, it's called formal eating meditation time. So we don't stand up, we sit at our place. After about 20 minutes, there will be 2 sound the bell. And then after that, we can stand up and we serve more food or drink. But during the time of 3 sound the bell and 2 sound the bell, about 20 minutes, we remain seated. Yeah. And so tomorrow is the only meal that we read the 5 contemplation at lunch. All of the other meal, we can sit inside or we can sit outside when the weather is good. It's okay. Yeah. And only for lunch, there will be 3 sound the bell and 20 minutes formal eating period and 2 sound the bell. All of the other meal, breakfast and dinner, we don't have this formal time. We just receive the food, find a plate to sit down to eat, and then we finish. Only at lunch, there's this formal period. Yeah. And this is for the requirement from the authority, that in the dining hall, on the table, there is a form. Please fill out that form and write out the number of your seat and put into the box. This is for contact tracing in case if there is an outbreak in our institute. Then we will help the health department to trace and to help to prevent the outbreak as soon as possible. Yeah. So please fill out the form, and yes, you already put down your name tag here on the floor, and the sister will record it. Okay, wonderful. Yes. So after you fill out the form, then there's a box inside the dining hall, and you put the form inside the box. Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's all for tonight. There's a lot of information for you to absorb. So we wish you a very good night, and thank you very much for having the courage to come to our institute during this type of outbreak and to practice together. We really treasure your presence and your practice with us. I'm very happy to see you all, and we will all have a very wonderful retreat together. So have a very good night's sleep. We now listen to the sound of the bell to end. Yeah. Thank you.